A little interesting study that was done on kindness. They discovered through these obscure methods for measuring something called serotonin, which is the neurotransmitter in the brain that is responsible for the chemical feeling of feeling good. So that when you take an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety pill, generally they are designed to promote and stimulate the production of serotonin from the brain. And the more serotonin you have in you, the more you feel good. Artificially, but you still feel good. It's very difficult to measure serotonin. Through the metabolites in the urine, they can determine how much serotonin is being produced in the body. And they discovered this, that when a person is the recipient of an act of kindness, that is, someone does something nice for someone else, that it stimulates the production of serotonin automatically, an act of kindness. And it also strengthens the immune system. So that two things happen when you receive kindness from someone. One, serotonin levels are increased. Two, immune system is strengthened. They also discovered that in the act of giving or providing an act of kindness, just being kind to another human being has the same effect. That is, it increases the production of serotonin in your body as a giver, a provider of an act of kindness. And two, it strengthens your immune system. So whether you receive an act of kindness or whether you offer an act of kindness, you strengthen your immune system and you also get the benefit of feeling good through the production of serotonin, which we try to do artificially by giving people drugs. But even more intriguing than that is the following result of this same experiment. That the observer of an act of kindness, that all you have to do is be in the energy field and see someone else receiving an act of kindness, and your serotonin levels are increased and your immune system is strengthened. Just by being in the energy field of it or watching it. If you remember during the 9/11 horror that took place a few years ago, that they would often show stories of people just out there giving water to the firemen. And you would see strangers, you'd see a fire truck arriving from Iowa, drove all the way to Manhattan. And all of these volunteer firemen get out and they're going in there to go into burning buildings and clean up the mess and so on, just out of an act of kindness, just wanting to be kind to each other. And you sit there in your home and you feel good. It's a natural thing to have our serotonin levels increase. The more serotonin, the better we feel. And what do we want to feel? We want to feel good. And feeling good means I want to feel God. It is natural to want to be connected to your source. You came from it. Why would you want to be separate from it? So anything that will get you connected to your source is natural. So what's the solution to the problems of the world? Kindness. It's a simple thing. It was the last thing that Aldous Huxley said when they asked him about his life. He said, all we have to do is learn to be a little kinder, and we'll solve the problems of the universe. So that the problems that we face in the Middle East, and the problems that we face in our inner cities, and the problems that we face with drugs and all of it, it's all about being kind. But yet, how often do you see people wanting to punish people, people wanting to extend the opposite of kindness as frequently as we can? How often do we have governments that do nothing but want to do as much as we possibly can to be unkind toward people? How often do you go to an office or a business that is run by people who don't really have kindness as their motivating drive? Just go to get your driver's license renewed. I mean, everybody can relate to that. I mean, I just had that experience just recently of having to have a driver's license replaced, and people of all stripes and colors and languages and so on lined up outside the street, sitting around, waiting and waiting and waiting, and when they would go in, being talked to in rude ways and so on, and wondering why there's so much stress and so much anxiety, and most of the people in there looked so unhappy. The people who were working there, the people who were taking the test, the people, all of it. Where's the kindness? Acts of kindness. My daughter, Summer, wrote a story in her college freshman class, and I thought I'd share it here with you. I was getting off the turnpike one rainy afternoon, and I pulled up to the toll booth while fumbling through my purse. The woman smiled at me and said, "The car before you paid your toll." I told her I was traveling alone and extended my money, and she said, "Yes, the man instructed me to tell the next person who came to my booth to have a brighter day." That small act of kindness did give me a brighter day. I felt so moved by someone I would never even know. I began to wonder how I could brighten someone else's day. I called my best friend and told her about my paid toll. She said she'd never thought of doing this, but that it was a great idea. She goes to the University of Kentucky and decided to pay for the person behind her every day on her way to school as she exited the toll road. I laughed at her sincerity. "You think I'm kidding?" she said. "But like you said, it's only 50 cents. As we hung up, I wondered if the man who paid my toll even fathomed that his thoughtfulness would travel to Kentucky. I had an opportunity to extend kindness at the supermarket one day when I had my cart filled to the top with the food that my roommate and I would share over the next 2 weeks. The woman behind me had an antsy toddler and not nearly as much in her cart as I had, and I said to her, "Why don't you go ahead of me? You don't have nearly as much as I do." She replied, "Thank you so much. I haven't seen many people around here be thoughtful of another person. We've moved here from Virginia and are considering moving back because we're questioning whether this is the right place to raise our 3 children." Then she told me that she was about ready to give up and move back home, and even though it would create a huge financial strain on her family, she said, "I'd promised myself if I didn't see a sign by the end of the day, I was going to demand that we move back to Virginia. And you are my sign." She thanked me again, smiling as she left the store. I was flabbergasted, realizing that such a small gesture impacted an entire family. The clerk said as she was checking me out, "You know what, girl? You just made my day." I walked out smiling and wondered how many people my act of kindness would affect. The other day I was getting a breakfast sandwich and coffee and thought my coworkers might like some donuts. The 4 guys I work with at the stables live in this little apartment at the front of the barns. None of them have a car, but they share a bicycle. I explained to them that the donuts were for them. The look of gratitude on each of their faces was rewarding in an immeasurable way. I haven't worked there all that long, and I think that those 12 small donuts helped to break the ice a little bit. My small act of kindness turned into something huge as the week went on. We started looking out for one another more carefully and working like a team. Isn't that great? It is my intention to live at peace. To live at peace with my friends, my relatives, with everyone in my life. I just have to watch what kinds of thoughts emerge from the container of my beingness. And when those thoughts are not in a state of kindness, and I think that the solution to so many of these problems that we think are so insurmountable are immediately solvable by returning ourselves to kindness and by offering specific act of kindness whenever it is that we can. And when you see an act of kindness, or when you act in this way, not only do you get a serotonin rush, which is what it is, and you can make it happen just by observing it and offering it and extending it, and something that I urge you to practice on a regular basis, and watch and see how your intentions begin to match up with this source energy, which is nothing but kind and nothing but forthcoming, nothing but giving, creating out of kindness. If the universal source that is capable of creating worlds, and does, had ever as its intention the thought of creating anything that it was unkindly toward, creation would stop. And your ability to create what you want in your life stops when you don't match up that way. So I put together just a little mini package of suggestions for having the peace that you desire for yourself. 1, I suggest that you identify your intentions verbally and often in writing, and develop a deep yearning for it. A deep yearning for what it is that you intend to create in your life. Then 2, intend for everyone in your life, including all of your relatives, what you intend for yourself. If you're struggling with your in-laws, if you're struggling with somebody in your family that you don't get along with, if you're having difficulty with somebody that you're working with, a coworker or someone, if you're struggling with an ex-spouse or whatever, intend for them the peace that you desire for yourself. Intend it even more for them. And then 3rd, be the peace that you're seeking from others. Be that. Don't be anything other than that which you are seeking from others. If peace is missing in your relationships with your family, it means that you have a place within you that is occupied by non-peace. It may be filled with anxiety, fear, anger, depression, guilt, or any low-energy emotion. Rather than attempting to rid yourself of these feelings all at once, treat them the same as your relatives. Say a friendly hello to the non-peace and let it be. You're sending a peaceful feeling to the non-peace feeling. Just direct this peace towards others. Then 4, begin the process of acting as if what you intended to manifest is already true. Begin that process. If you're having trouble getting along with someone and not having peace in your life, just begin a process of acting as if what you would really like to have in that relationship already exists. It happened for me with my ex-wife, going through a difficult time. And I went through an experience of deep meditation and also of hypnosis, self-hypnosis, something called the 15 steps. And I went into this hypnotic process, and I went to this place where I confronted her and her demands and what she was looking for in a loving way. And I began to surround her with the love and the peace that I wanted for myself but was missing while I was going through this. And I came out of this hypnotic experience, and I picked up the telephone and I called her. And I said, from now on, we go through this process in peace. If you're willing, in peace. We will not have anybody outside of us, any lawyers, anybody who is making demands on us, anyone who doesn't have our peace as their primary motive. If you're involved in contentious debates and breakups and difficulties and so on, and you hire people and have people around you whose purpose is to profit off of the struggles that you have and to keep the antagonism going, all you're doing is creating more of an energy field of non-peace. So that you want to make sure that the people who are helping you through these contentious times, whatever they might be, whether it's in a job or it's in a divorce or a breakup or anything else, you want to have people who you have representing and working with you who have as their primary and first motivation your peace. If that isn't their motivation, then you want to go to people who do have that as your guide, as your allies. And you remove the people who are looking for profitability and looking to create and extend the dissension and replace them with those who want peace for everyone involved. And the fact is, all you need is God. Because every conflict that you have any place out there in this world is not between you and them. It's between you and God. And I realized that in that hypnotic experience of the 15 steps, that it was just between me and God. And the meaning of that is, can I find within me, even though there's struggles and difficulties going on, can I find within me the ability to go to my source energy and bring that to the presence of the resolution of this? And it has been a joyous experience since then. Next, detach from the outcome. Don't let your authentic and peaceful attitude depend on anybody else's behavior. You are your own peace. Be it. And then make an affirmation. It's an affirmation that I say over and over again. And people are always wondering why I always encounter so many people who are willing to help me and want good things for me wherever I go, even strangers, wherever it might be, people who don't even know what my work is or what I do or who I am or anything. I affirm that I attract only peace and peaceful people into my life. That's my affirmation. I attract only peace and peaceful people into my life. That's all I will allow. And you know, that's all that ever seems to show up. And finally, practice forgiveness. Hold no grudges. The key to having peace in your life is to let go of all grudges and practice making amends. Here's what the Course in Miracles says about this. Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of purpose, and a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that can never be hurt, a deep, abiding comfort, and a rest so peaceful it can never be upset? Only forgiveness offers all of this to you. Forgiveness. Letting go.